In fact, some news that's breaking this minute where the FATF, which is the Financial Action Task Force, has asked country to show that it has blocked financing routes of the JUD-JEM International Terror Finance Watchdog. The Financial Action Task Force has virtually put Pakistan on a 3-month notice to demonstrate that it has blocked the financial routes of these terror organizations like Jamaat-ud-Dawa, Jaish-e-Mohammed and other affiliates. The fallout of the non-compliance will be serious for Pakistan, which runs the risk of being placed in the category of jurisdictions with serious deficiencies in adhering to global standards on combating terror finance and check money laundering. That's big news that's coming in right now, where the Financial Action Task Force has now put Pakistan on notice. Let's go across to my colleague Geeta Mohan joining us with further details. Good morning, Geeta. Further pressure there on Pakistan as the Financial Action Task Force has now put Pakistan on notice.
Well, that's right. Financial Action Task Force, an international organization that looks into terror financing and terror funding, has time and again come out with scathing reports against Pakistan. But the kind of statement and the kind of report that they've come out with clearly shows that they're not just talking about Pakistan being an instrument or using terrorism as an instrument of state policy, which are the kind of statements we've seen in the past. They have details and proof, and they've come out with all those details of how the financial roots of Jamaat-ud-Dawa and the Jaish-e-Mohammed, the affiliates, go around only and ensuring terror funding and funding of terrorism that emanates from Pakistan but ends in India. They're talking about the region, but we do know that the sole focus of Jamaat-ud-Dawa and Jaish-e-Mohammed is basically India and attacking India and dismantling the systems in place in the valley and in the state of Jammu and Kashmir.
Right.
Hence, this entire report of this international finance watchdog is a very important one. While they put the country, Pakistan, on notice, the bigger issue is that this is only a watchdog. What is it that the international community can do and will do to ensure that the terror funding stops? What is it that the United States of America, from where most of these terror finance watchdogs are based out of, how are they going to hold Pakistan responsible? These are areas that one has to look into and questions that need to be answered.
Yes, Geeta, while this must just be a watchdog, but the fact is, tell us and explain to us how this continues to only vindicate what India has been saying all along, that how we're looking at these organizations that, of course, are being run by Hafiz Saeed, giving it a cover of being organizations that do a lot of social work, Jamaat-ud-Dawa being one of them, which are terror organizations that are funding further activities that are against India. And this would also mean, Geeta, that even though JUD has been mentioned in the list of this Financial Action Task Force, further pressure that Pakistan now is under when it comes to directly Hafiz Saeed.
Well, that's right. And now look at the kind of reports that are trickling in. Now, this was a meet of the FATF in Paris, and despite the fact that they had all the details and evidence of the kind of funding that the Jamaat-ud-Dawa and Jaish-e-Mohammed are involved in Akshay, the Pakistani administration and Pakistan government made it a point to go ahead and protest the kind of reports that FATF was putting out in Paris, in the Paris meet. That just goes to show that Pakistan defined. Pakistan continues to support the likes of Jaish-e-Mohammed and Jamaat-ud-Dawa. And while on the one hand, they've gone ahead and put him under house arrest or under the anti-terror law, put Hafiz Saeed under those laws, the fact is that when they go ahead and on international platforms protest any such move by any organization that takes on these terror networks, that really goes to show that there is no intent when it comes to Pakistan really fighting terrorism, particularly that kind of terrorism, that breed of terrorism that is only directed against India. Now, we do know that they fight terror organizations all the time in the AFPAC region and those that affect Pakistan and the US forces or Afghanistan. But when it comes to the terror networks that work against India, those are their allies and friends, and hence the kind of protests we saw in Paris by Pakistan on the FATF report.
Geeta, what would have happened? What would happen if Pakistan does not live up to all these queries of the FATF, if it cannot clarify on all the questions that are being asked of this Financial Action Task Force? What will Pakistan have to undergo?
Well, these finance watchdogs are not legally binding on any country. So what they really do is they act as pressure groups. The information that is given or that is collected, the data and intelligence that is collected by the finance watchdogs is used by many countries and is taken by many countries if the source is reliable. The United States of America, for one, will have to look at the kind of reports that they're putting out and whether if they can then seek or take action against Pakistan in the kind of aid that is provided to Pakistan. So there is only one thing that can happen with the kind of international finance watchdogs coming and putting out reports on a particular country, that there is enough enough movement and momentum in terms of creating a narrative on what that country is all about, and on that, if you're dealing with that country, how then can you pressure or use pressure tactics to ensure that the country moves away from such kind of terror financing. In this case, we're talking about countries such as the European nations, UK, US, that have stakes with Pakistan, that Pakistan has stakes with using those pressure tactics to ensure that they stop terror financing. This certainly is a vindication for what India has stood for and has spoken of all these years.
Right. Geeta, thanks very much for joining us for a moment with those inputs. Let's also bring in Brigadier Mahalingam joining us over the telephone line. Good morning, Brigadier Mahalingam. News that's just coming in where the FATF, which is the Financial Action Task Force, has put Pakistan on notice specifically when it comes to blocking financial routes of organizations, terror organizations like Jamaat-ud-Dawa and Jaish-e-Mohammed.
Absolutely. It is perhaps, this was one of the reasons why Pakistan decided to place Hafiz Saeed in house custody. And Pakistan is quite aware that once this particular outfit bans you or sort of puts sanctions on you, the financial transactions which Pakistan does along with the entire world, including the movement and disbursement of various aids and various funds which come from various countries, including US, that would be very seriously affected. That perhaps is one of the reasons why Pakistan placed Hafiz Saeed under sort of a detention. It only goes to prove that what India has been shouting all these days, that it is true, and we must understand that Pakistan must now take action at least to stop these terror organizations.
Yes, but knowing Pakistan, Brigadier Mahalingam, a country that continues to be in denial on several counts, the fact is that the FATF doesn't really have any, legal powers. Like my colleague Geeta was just pointing out, FATF is an organization that can add further pressure on Pakistan, but on Pakistan to really act, we will have to see other countries to really pitch in and not just this organization trying to put it on the scanner.
Yes, absolutely. The point is that if you expect any other country to take action, if you have to take action against Pakistan, you have to place Pakistan as a terror state. But unfortunately, even India, which is a democracy and which is maximum affected by Pakistan, has decided not to place Hafiz Saeed in a terror watch list. Therefore, as far as the world countries are concerned, I don't think they are very seriously affected. And I don't think most of the countries understand the real problems of India. And until and unless India decides to act, nobody else is going to act.
So do you think it's time now, Brigadier Mahalingam, for the Parliament and to show political will to actually pass that bill that's lying pending? We saw how one of the MPs there, Mr. Chandrasekhan, had moved that bill to declare Pakistan a terror state, but the government seems to be mulling on it up until now.
Absolutely. Perhaps one of the reasons why the government of India is doing that is to probably make sure that the Pakistan's government continues to have dialogue with these people. Because once these individuals are put on the terror list, then it will be extremely difficult for Pakistan to carry on any dialogue with these people. Therefore, that may be one of the reasons. But that shouldn't prevent India from placing this country in the terror list. Because if you do not do it, nobody else is going to come and help you when you are being attacked by the terrorists.
Right, Brigadier Mahalingam, thanks very much for joining us for a moment with your inputs. Let's go back to our colleague Geeta for further details. Geeta, like I was just asking Brigadier Mahalingam, looking at how we've seen Pakistan acting on Hafiz Saeed. He's been put on the list over there of terrorists. Now we're looking at the FATF also coming in, adding for the pressure on Pakistan. Looking at how the country continues to be in isolation, where terror organizations, terror funding is concerned, isn't it time now for India to also take that step, that much awaited step, to declare Pakistan a terror state, to see some sort of change on ground?
Well, that's right. MP Rajiv Chandrasekhar has been trying very hard to ensure that the bill, that his bill initiated by him sees the light of day. But it seems like there is a growing consensus within the current dispensation that declaring Pakistan a terror state would mean that India will have to cut off all ties and there can be no hope for talks with Pakistan. And taking such a drastic step at this point in time did not deem fit for the dispensation that really wants to engage to ensure that and hold that card that if Pakistan wants engagement, then Pakistan will have to stop terrorism, because we see a lot of feelers come from Pakistan on talks, and the card is that if you want to talk, then stop terror. But the moment you declare Pakistan a terror state, Pakistan is not going to approach you for talks at all. And Pakistan will have all the more reasons then, with no engagement from either side, will have all the more reasons then to ensure that they use terrorism as an instrument of state policy,
right,
that they breed and support those terror networks, that at this point in time they're showing some effort, maybe to appease the international community and US in particular, the Trump administration, but they are making some efforts to ensure that the news tightens around organizations and people like Hafiz Saeed, but that either could be a bluff or, for that matter, could be only to appease the US. Whatever it is, if we declare it a Pak terror state, if we declare Pak a terror state, it will be a huge problem in engaging. And that's the reason why the current dispensation at this point in time does not want to take that drastic step.
All right. We'll leave it at that, Geeta. Thanks very much for joining us with those inputs.